Shalom, Israel. It's your brother J.D. Nijah back with the message of edification and exhortation for the children of Israel. This is June 28th, 2021, the year of the coming of the hastening of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem Rakakodash. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem Rakakodash, and Hassad to the 144,000 elect men who are pushing these messages out. All the men that are doing it in sincerity and truth, because Yahweh Shai is the truth, the way, and the life. And if you want to follow him, you have to follow the truth. All right, so I've been studying here for a minute. This message is going to be about the Great Millstone. So I wanted to look into why they call themselves Great Millstone. And the only verse that I had really had stuck in my mind was the one in Luke. It's in all the Gospels of the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but the one that I'm familiar with was it's talking about offending young Christians. It says, "Verily I say to you," it's Matthew 18:3, and this is Yahweh Shai, it's red letter. "Verily I say unto you that, except you be converted and become like little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever there shall be humble of himself as a little child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little one in my name, receiveth me. But who shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him to have a millstone hanged about his neck, that he were drowned in the depth of the sea." So there's a couple different scriptures about the millstone and the sea. And I just did a message on it not too long ago. It was Jeremiah and Sariah. Sariah wrote down what the Lord told Jeremiah. Take a rock and say, this is prophecy. It said, darn it. I'm going to just say it. I'm going to chop it up because otherwise I'm not going to be able to do the message, because this goes into some, I'm going to try and break down the millstone, the great millstone, and what it means. So in Jeremiah, he told Sariah to write on a stone, Babylon is falling, or Babylon is through, or something to that effect, and then throw it into the Euphrates. So that was prophecy about Babylon falling, right? So then, in the one I knew was this Matthew one about if you offend someone, especially what he's talking about is the children who are coming to Yahweh power and are learning about him and are following him. And he said that the ones that are willing to strip themselves bare and become like a little child, those are the ones that that the Lord loves the most. He says, "Except you be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore shall you humble yourself as a little child." So what the beef I have is that it has to do with this verse, and maybe Great Millstone has another idea, because they're more about the prophecy, but it's a brutal thing to not be humble. So if they're all sticking together like like beans in a burrito or whatever. They're expelling or excluding people just because they don't want to come into their camp. Maybe I'm not in your camp. Maybe you need to know that I'm pushing the word just like you are, and you should have some respect, men of Great Millstone. Not one of you has yet said anything about me at all. And it's not that it bothers me, it's that you might want to look at yourselves and find out what your motivation is. Is your motivation to be a camp of a bunch of guys, a bunch of men that are all together, but you're going to get all put out of the bigger camp together? Is that what you want? How do you know that I'm not someone you should be helping along? How do you know I'm not one of the little ones that just need some backing to become strong? How do you know that? What, I have to do all the work myself? You can't. You're not going to help me get better? How do you know I'm not going to be over you? That's the point I'm trying to make here. Is do you want to get thrown into that Euphrates River? Do you want your whole millstone to be thrown into that river? The millstone, the stone gets thrown into the river, and with violence. And that may be the crushing stone of Yahushua, but woe unto them who are crushed by that millstone. So I'm gonna go into the one. I'm gonna put the phone around and so I can get this lesson going. Anyhow, that's my cut right now. Is be careful, humble yourselves. You don't know what is what or who is who. Believe me, none of us do. We don't know what is what or who is who. So better check yourself. You can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know what is what or who is who. And if you think you do, that's called pride. So check yourself. I'm going to go into this a little bit more. Hello, Israel. Hope you can see me. So the next verse in that regard is Revelation. Where is it? Slovakia brothers. I don't know what happened here. 1821. Slovakia. Okay, 1821. And a mighty angel. This is Revelation. Hi, Israel. This is Revelation 1821. Babylon will be thrown down. So when I was just mentioning Jeremiah and Sariah being told by the Lord to write the message down, tie it to that stone, and throw it into the Euphrates, this is like follow through on that one. It says Babylon will be thrown down. You know why? Because Sariah and Jeremiah threw that stone in the Euphrates. And it reads, verse 21 of Revelation 18. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. That's what I was saying. With violence, it'll be thrown down with violence. So is the stone? I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out too. I don't want to screw it up, so I'm wondering out loud myself. Is the stone Yahushua? Is he the one that splashes into the sea and destroys it? A mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, just like they threw the stone into the river in Jeremiah, Euphrates, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more. So, and then it goes into the judgment of Babylon and how everything's going to fail for Babylon. So, yeah, Great Millstone, we may be grinding our way to, we're on the grind, right? We're grinding our way into power. We're grinding them down like grain. We're cracking them like cookies, right? So Babylon's going to be destroyed, but then I went into some other stuff about the millstone, right? And it was, let me see if I can get to where I was. Where was it? It was in Judges. And it's a story about Abimelech. So this is where it gets a little more difficult, because Abimelech was evil. He tried to become king, right? And how he did that is he killed some of his own brothers. He went and killed him and the men of Shechem, which I think were, if I'm not mistaken, they were Ephraimites. And what they did is Abimelech kills Gideon's son. So I'm gonna read that real quick so you can get a little bit of backstory on what happened here. So there was infighting between Gideon, because Gideon was the judge at the time, and they didn't have a king at that time, from what I remember. So they were trying. Everyone was kind of doing what they did. Like at the end of Judges, you'll see that it says, and in those days men did what was right in their own hearts, right? So there was no king, but they were all kind of trying to figure out how to get Israel straightened up. Those were the times of Samson, Deborah, Gideon, Jephthah, Samson, Deborah. There was a few different judges. That's not the part of the point of the story, though. So I'm going to read it. It's verse 5. Abimelech kills Gideon's sons. And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren and the son of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons upon one stone. Notwithstanding yet, Jotham the son of Jerubbaal was left, and he did hide himself. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of Pillar that was in Shechem. So these men of Shechem, they were jealous because Gideon had the power, right? So they made Abimelech king, but they were so prideful. So when I say it might be ironic that they call themselves Great Millstone, it might be ironic because the millstone, they might be wicked like Abimelech. They might they might actually be slaying more of their brothers than they're bringing in by their dividing themselves off from brothers like me, or other brothers that don't want to be part of the camp, but we're part of the bigger camp. And that's one of the points I wanted to make is, who the hell are you? You might know more than me. You might be able to say it better than me, but in God's eyes, you don't know. You don't know. Check yourself. Don't wreck yourself. You might be missing the biggest opportunity of your life by not stepping up for J.D. Nija. You ever consider that? So I'm going to go into this. This is pretty interesting. It's Shechem's treachery. These were treacherous men. I guess Abimelech was king. He reigned over Israel for 3 years. Then, like Yahweh Power sent, this is still Judges 9:22. Then Yahweh Power sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the cruelty done to the 10 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid upon them, Abimelech their brother, which slew them. Right? They were killed by their own brothers, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in killing of his brethren. So these men of Shechem and Abimelech, the angel of the Lord turned them against each other. So what we see in these camps is a bunch of treachery towards each other. Instead of some of these men humbling themselves, especially, I don't watch IUIC and some of these other camps. I believe Great Millstone definitely has the best camp, but what I'm saying is a camp the best idea anyway? And I mean, yeah, going out on the highways and byways is good, and stirring people up is a good thing. Setting the tribe charts out, wonderful. So you might be the best bad guys ever. I don't know. I'm going to wait and see. I'm not claiming anything, because I'm humbling myself and saying you might be the best. You might be the best worst ever, or the worst best ever. I don't know. If you know what I mean, if you get that in the spirit. So you get the idea. Abimelech was an usurper, so he got all these men together to usurp the power, and he gained the kingdom. But under his reign, where is it? The death of the men of Shechem. I'll read that to you real quick. And when all the men, this is Judges, it's the same story following the death of, this is 9:47. And when all the men of the tower of Shechem heard that, they entered into an hold of the house of the god Berith, small g, so he was an idol. And it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. So Abimelech's going, okay, these guys were my friends, now they're not. And Abimelech got himself up to the mount of Zalmon, and he and all the people that were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand and cut down a bough of the tree, and took it and laid it on his shoulders, and said unto the people that were with him, what ye have seen me do, make haste and do as I have done. And all the people likewise cut down every man his bow, and followed Abimelech, and put them on the hold, and set the hold on fire upon them, so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. So he went and burnt up his first he killed the people of Gideon, and then he killed the people that helped him kill the people of Gideon. That's how wicked and treacherous he was. So this is where the millstone comes in. Next verse 50, the death of Abimelech. Then went Abimelech to the Biz, and encamped against the Biz, and took it. And there was a strong tower within the city, and thither fled all the men and women and all they of the city, and shut it to them, and got them up to the top of the tower. So they ran out, and they all ran up to this tower. They were looking for some relief, right? They weren't bad people. It was just Abimelech was on a killing spree. He had a wicked ass angel on him or something, because he's killing his own people left and right. The people of the Bez were probably, from what I can gather, they were his own people. And Abimelech came under the tower and fought against it, and went hard under the door of the tower to burn it with fire. So he came close up to the tower because he was burning everything. Then he called hastily, 53. And a certain woman cast a piece of millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. So we have a lot of stories about this millstone, this rock, this stone. Let me finish up because it's gonna talk about why that happened to Abimelech. So he was killed by a woman. That's another interesting sidebar. This is where digging into Bible scripture gets really kind of difficult, because you have to know a lot of depth of what would that mean to be killed by a woman, because in the next verse it talks about how the last thing he wanted anyone to know is that a woman killed him. So then he called hastily unto the young man his armor bearer, and said unto him, Draw thy sword, and slay me, that men may not say of me, A woman slew me. And his young man thrust him through, and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man unto his place. Thus Jehovah had rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, in slaying his 70 brethren. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. So the curse of Jotham obviously is to rectify Abimelech and the men of Shechem. That house killed Gideon, and they killed Jerubbaal, who was a good man, I guess, and so he was cursed by the Lord, Abimelech, and he was taken down with a great millstone. She dropped a millstone on his head. A woman dropped a millstone on his head. Probably a wicked person, because women are known to be the wicked, and for him to be killed by a woman was awful. And he was also killed by a millstone. So the great millstone, the men of great millstone must be strong, and they must be. I mean, that's a good name, because obviously the millstone is meant to take the kingdom back with the same violence or more violence than we were rendered by Esau Edom. So I was digging into that to find out what great millstone meant, and that's the message. These are the type of things that I'm going to bring out, because maybe these men will notice that I'm here. And render me some of their humility, and help me along, and help my channel along, and maybe save them from their own demise. I don't know. That's the message for today. Shalom, Israel.